Happy Friday, Irene. Well, it could be
Hey,
any day for
happy
anybody.
Friday. Welcome, everybody.
I know. Welcome. So, last time we talked, and we just want to welcome everybody and thank you so much for watching those who did before and who are watching new. We would love for you guys to support us, follow us, like, share. If you're looking for any sort of support, friends, we're here. Join our conversation too. We would really love that. But the last time we talked, Irene tapped on or covered that we were going to be talking about core wounds today. And she's going to explain a lot more about it because she definitely knows a lot more than me. But we know that there's 6 core wounds, and we're going to cover one at a time. And then this way, everybody can take time to digest them. There's a lot of new things that we're going to be learning along the way too, not just about the wounds themselves, but about ourselves, of course. And love to hear you guys' thoughts with everything. But and I think, and Irene, you'll be able to explain this more. Core wounds, like you could have one, you could have two, you could have all of them, and you don't have to feel right, wrong. There's no anything. But Irene, if you can explain, just list out what the core wounds are, and then like how they're kind of like developed, so we all have some background on that.
Sure. Yeah. So they are as follows: abandonment, which is what we're going to be covering today, rejection, injustice, neglect, humiliation, and betrayal. And what Tiffany said is absolutely correct. You can have one of them, you can have two of them, you can have all of them, which I believe that I have all of them. And again, these are all formed in childhood, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just certain things that you experience in your childhood between the ages of 0 to 7 that create these wounds. And then how these wounds affect us is they make us behave in a certain way, and it usually plays out in our lives. So there's patterns. And so what we're going to be talking about is each wound in the next 6 videos, and we'll talk about how it shows up in your life and give examples. And probably we'll do a 7th video on like how to address healing these wounds.
Yeah. And I think it's so powerful, and we're having these conversations just like these, but like all of our conversations to come to, just the more aware that we can be as humans. Like our whole focus of putting the human back in humanity is that, we're all distracted in our lives and we're living in our own bubbles and doing our own things. But the more we're aware as humans and we can have empathy and compassion for others, the better off I feel like this will make this place to live, honestly. Then you can look at somebody, and Irene and I have learned from so many of our own personal experiences, and we still are, that, sometimes when you enter a conflict with a friend or somebody at work or your loved ones or your siblings, whatever, it's oftentimes you're met with it not because there's any wrongdoing, they're trying to do any harm. We're all suffering from our own and dealing with our own wounds that we are mostly not aware of. So the more we become aware, then we can make others aware, and or just be able to adjust how we handle them and to have some empathy.
Absolutely. And what I think is cool, I noticed somebody left a comment on our last video basically saying like, oh, wow, it's so cool to like see that other people are experiencing the same thing that I am. And I think that's what's really cool about this whole thing is that you're not alone. Like we are all going through these things, and
We're managing them on a daily
actually,
basis.
yeah, and it's actually what connects us all. So it's cool because like um we can see and resonate with each other and understand each other better. So I love that.
Me too.
All right, so you want to dive into abandonment?
Let's dive in. And we should preface this by saying, because we both have amazing parents
Yes.
and sisters and brothers, you do, and family members and everything. And there's nothing wrong with these things, and we don't want anybody to feel as though anything that we've experienced or that what became our wounds, it has anything to do with anybody. Honestly, it's just life, and it's just
Totally. And the thing is like what is
nobody
really,
take offense.
yeah, and what's really
Safe
important to
space.
understand, is that our parents have their own set of wounds. And sometimes, like when we start diving into these wounds, you'll be like, oh, like I don't really feel that, but I think that my parents have that. And it ends up that you end up having it too, because you grew up with somebody that has that. So then
Yeah.
you take on that cycle, that wound. So this
But
is
now
good.
it can bring like a bigger, and deeper understanding
Understanding, healing, and like maybe, I mean,
Offering compassion.
my goal personally is to break the cycle and not continue the wound in my family.
Yeah,
So yeah,
same here.
break that generational shit, you know?
Yeah, and it all starts with storytelling, honestly. It really does. It's just becoming aware and sharing what we've all been through. So here
For
we
sure.
go.
Do it. Let's do it. So I took some notes down and I'm just going to kind of like skim through this. But the way that abandonment shows up usually, and this isn't in every case, but I'm just going to kind of read. You typically feel like you're alone. You might have issues connecting with others, or you might feel like nobody really truly understands you. Um, you might feel like you don't fit in. You struggle to connect with people, and you constantly have an underlying fear of losing either a person or a job or a situation, money, home. It could be anything. You just have this fear of loss, right? You can have a history of actually losing things as well. And then people with abandonment wounds usually go through great losses in their lives. Like maybe when you were younger, you had somebody really close to you that passed away, or a pet or something like that. Or maybe when you were younger, you had somebody that was close to you that moved away, or like somebody in your family that, is no longer close to you that moved away, or somebody breaking up with you. Basically, it's has a lot to do with people, or it could be that somebody physically actually abandoned you, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's kind of like what, like generally, because there's probably a million different other things we can list, but generally that's kind of what will cause an abandonment wound. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I can, or
Oh,
you
go
were
ahead.
going to say?
I was gonna just I don't know if you want me to keep going with my notes, or if you want to, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can keep going in there and then I can kind of like dive in where I feel like.
Another thing is, and this is where I relate the most. So if you watched the last episode and you heard my little Batman thing, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if not, go back and watch it. But people with abandonment wounds, they don't allow people to get close. Ding. Always very private, totally. They hold back and stay more on the quiet side, but they're outgoing when it comes to superficial things. So like things that they don't really care about, like they can be outgoing, right? So they can be an ambivert, which means like you're part extrovert, part introverted. Um,
That's
Usually
definitely
people,
me.
yeah, same. And it's totally hit the nail on the head about like in social situations, or like when it's a fun, like carefree time, I can totally be outgoing. But if it's like one-on-one, something intimate where I have to like let somebody in, then I'm completely introverted, right?
Right. And for
Um,
me, I revert to like talking about work and stuff like that. Like,
okay, so you have like what's that shit called? Like not superficial conversations, but like gosh, the word's
you want to say
escaping.
like surface,
Surface level, yeah,
but it's
like not
not
deep.
really surface, but I tend to like, I don't know. I don't know. There's some other stuff there with that for sure.
Okay, well, let me keep going and
Mhm.
maybe something will like hit you. Usually people with this wound are hyper aware. They will notice when a person slightly shifts their approach with them. So let's say you're in a relationship and everything's like the beginning and everything's going amazing, and then you notice your partner like kind of holding back, pulling back, whatever. Like
Mhm.
people that have this wound like pick that up like instantly, okay?
I thought that was because we were empaths too, or maybe it has something to do, but that is me 100%. If somebody all of a sudden changes their tone or their texting behavior, I'm like, oh, they're no longer doing this or they're no longer doing that. Like, what's wrong? You know? And those other
Yeah.
people are just like, nothing's wrong. Like, it's just whatever. They might be going through their own, busy day in life, but I immediately pick up on it. I'm like, oh my God, what's going And I start
So
creating a story in my head.
so what I have here in my notes is when that occurs,
Hmm.
that triggers the person with the abandonment wound to believe or worry that they might lose that person. Okay. And so, in turn, because you have this wound, you're subconsciously already going to start acting like you're going to lose the person. So, you
Hmm.
start acting out of fear of
Hmm.
losing that person, the thing. You might not even realize that you're doing it, but I
Oh,
mean,
I
maybe after
realize
the
it.
fact. Huh?
Oh, I'm to the point where I'm full on aware and I know it. And I could literally feel like blood rushing down my arms. It's so bizarre.
Oh, okay. So it hits you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then it says here, which can lead to somebody clinging or chasing or that kind of behavior, right?
Hmm.
And then eventually you push that thing away.
Yep.
And you push it away because you rather be the one to push it away than be the one that gets abandoned. And
Totally.
yeah, same. I've literally
Totally.
did that in my last
I'm like, oh, it's
situationship.
gonna
So
happen. So let me just let it be on my own terms. Cause then I didn't have to place the blame on somebody else.
yeah.
I take the blame for myself. And I feel like it's easier. Then I'm like, oh, people don't let me down. I just let myself down.
Okay. So it also says here that these people can prefer to stay in their daydreams rather than actually going for what they want, because they feel safer to dream than to go and pursue it. Um, so that's interesting. I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
Yeah, I would say that that was more like that was definitely me. I don't know how many years ago I could pin that to. Maybe it was more in my 20s or so. I mean, I've always been like super driven. I feel like that's just in my blood. Just it comes from, I think just I know that like for example, like my grandfather, my grandpa George, like he's my angel and he's like was so determined and such a like a hard worker and that work ethic that like, he's I've got that entrepreneur in me because of him, right? But I didn't go after things before. I would play small a lot, a lot. And I think, yeah, it was for fear of so many different things. But I
Yeah,
can
that might
relate.
that what you just said, it might not necessarily be abandonment. It could be one of the other ones like rejection or something like that, which we'll get
Yeah.
into. Because like I was thinking about that too, about the daydreaming thing. And I was gonna say there have been instances in my life where I didn't go after my dreams, but I don't think it's because of abandonment. I think it is because of rejection. So I
Yeah.
was
I don't think it isn't because of abandonment. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, let me just hold that story
Mhm.
for when we get there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so another thing is just for you guys, like informational. So you don't necessarily have to have lost something in order for this wound to be inflicted. It could have happened just by being left alone, having absent parents, um, or it could have been from losing something significant in your childhood. I think for me, like I said, definitely the whole Batman thing, like having my dad that isolated himself when I was younger,
Yeah.
even though he was in the same house as me, it's still abandonment. It's still considered abandonment.
It is. Yeah. Cause there's not, they're not interacting, engaging with you. I think
Yeah.
for me, like we talked about this a little before, like, because I'm now that mom, that single mom, like my mom was, right? Working all these jobs and doing these things. And I remember her, working so many nursing jobs. And then, my sisters and I were home oftentimes a lot by ourselves. And, but I look back at that, I'm like, well, I learned how to be so independent and take care of myself and do all these things. But it definitely connected to that for sure. And feeling alone. But then, too, a big element to it, I feel like, was my parents got divorced. I think I was maybe 7 or so. And I want to say that this is a lot to do with cultural issues, right? Or not issues, but cultural differences. My dad being an immigrant from Romania and having so many brothers and sisters, and then coming over here when he was 21 or so. And you know,
So,
you don't really have the example of what, you know, parenting is, how things are done here. He knew what he had over there and wasn't a whole heck of a lot. So he did the best he could, I feel like at the time, but didn't maybe realize. So there was just times when I think like what I always remember, my mom moved us to South Florida, and when we would come back to visit to New York, and we would want to go see our dad, and then he'd be like, no, I'm watching a tennis match. No, it's not a good time. No. Is it Was it the best thing for him to say? No. Was it the best thing for my mom to tell us that? No. Two people did, perhaps two wrongs, but it made me feel kind of almost like rejected on both sides, right? That totally fed into it. I felt like I was a burden. you know? And
Yeah.
then I remember, yeah, my dad never came down to visit us when we lived down in South Florida. He did come for my high school graduation, and he came for not even 24 hours. And then he complained about his shoes melting. It was so hot in Florida,
I
blah, blah, blah.
remember that. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically. Oh, yeah, you're remembering the college one. He was
I
only there
just
for 24
remember
hours too. But
I just remember that you telling me that
yeah,
he complained about the rubber on the bottom of his shoes melting
that
so
he's
the
had him for like 20 something years. And then he comes down to visit Florida for a couple hours. And I got the flu that day. And so I couldn't even go out like to eat with them and celebrate nothing because it was bizarre. And then, but yeah, so I felt like I was a burden. At the same time, I felt like I was abandoned. Felt like a whole lot of things, you know?
Yeah, and you brought up rejection, which again, I see that when we have that rejection wound conversation, we might
Yeah.
have a lot to share there. But what I was gonna say, and it's kind of like getting off topic a little bit, what I do notice though, and it maybe you notice this too, but like I feel like being children of immigrants, like I feel like other cultures, and I could be wrong, maybe there's like this habit of like complaining a lot. Like I noticed that with my grandmother and stuff like that. Like she'll complain about everything, so I wonder like too if that feeds
Mm,
into everything, like they just are
yeah.
complainers.
Right.
um
I don't
I don't know
know.
if it's a cultural thing or maybe it's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, but
So,
I do know that because I'm trying to be so aware of all these things. And now that my daughter, like Gabby, is 12, God, I just like want to protect her from these wounds, and I want to like help, like I want to interject and I want to fix it and I want to, and you just can't. You just
you
can't.
can though. I mean, I think the fact that we're having these conversations and you're becoming aware of what they are, and
Yeah.
as we go through them, like you'll be able to pick up on like maybe what she might be having or anything. We all have them.
No,
Like there's
there's little
no
things I could
way.
tell where things are where things she gets choked up on already. And I can hear her voice crackling when she starts talking to me about things. And then I'm like, no, she's like, well, and I'm like, oh my God, that's her wound.
And it's
We're gonna
okay.
flip the seats and she's gonna be, 30, or well, no, I'm not 30 anymore, 41, but we're gonna reverse the tables, and or not really, but she'll be my age one day and talking about this with a therapist or something. And I'm like,
No, no, no. And I think it's okay. Like we need to have wounds. We're humans. Like we need to be flawed and we can't be perfect. But I think what's important is like knowing them, recognizing the patterns, the behaviors, which is why we're breaking all of this down in six
yeah,
or seven different videos. And then the seventh video, we can talk about things you can do to fix them. So
right,
we're presenting the solution instead of focusing on the problem. So
right,
I think that's
right.
good, you
What were
know?
some other, like, did you remember any other like moments from like growing up that you felt like fed into it, or ways that you saw that now play out into life, like how you're carrying it through?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I'm totally like a recluse. Like I isolate.
Yeah.
I don't hang out with very many people. You have to like really like I have to really get to know you very well for me to even like let you in or even talk to you. It's kind of bizarre. Like sometimes I really do like laugh at myself, like as if I'm seeing myself from the outside. Like even last week, like I went to this party and everybody like I get there and I just sit in my own little corner and I don't
Yeah.
talk to anybody.
Hmm.
And
I prefer that too, honestly. I'm like, I want one-on-one or two-on-one. And then when it's
yeah,
more, I'm like, I'm quiet.
when it's more like I can handle it. I can handle it and I'm actually like you would never know. Like I'm pretty like I can be like the life of the party. I'm a Libra, so I'm a very social person.
Mhm.
But I think like too I just kind of stay to myself and then like people have to come to me. You know what I mean, kind of thing. And I actually feel like maybe that's why a lot of the times I'll say this to my friends, but I'm like I'm horrible at reaching out and I really am like just
Mhm.
because I kind of like have this mentality that I just have to take care of it all on my own.
Ooh, I just had a thought there. If you're
Mhm.
telling people that, or saying that they have to reach out to you.
Yeah, or I'm keeping that story alive, like that I'm
Right.
stuck
No,
at
but
trying
I think there's something more there. Like I just thought about this. So if you're feeling like people have to come to you, then maybe it's sort of a way like you're trying to prove that they're coming to you so that you're not getting abandoned, basically.
yeah,
Or,
I
or
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
like because they're making that effort, like
yeah,
they're working
totally.
for it versus you putting it out
Not even just working for it, but like basically then I know it's like safe to trust because if you're coming to me, that means you want to come to me, right?
there. Right.
So that
Versus like
also,
you feeling like you had to put something in and then they just like left.
yeah, I'm not good at putting things in. I'll just if I need to put things in, I'll just do it for myself. So for me, that's how it shows up for me. But I think also that is the rejection wound too. I think
Yeah.
for me, the abandonment wound is yeah. So this last part, let me read it.
Yeah.
This part might resonate the most. So abandonment and loss go hand in hand. Essentially, the fear of abandonment is the fear of loss. So you avoid recreating situations or like even like
Mm,
let's say like you're in a relationship, right? And you're feeling some type of way about something, but you don't want to speak up because you're scared that if you tell that person how you feel, that you're
mhm.
going to lose them, right? So you keep it inside because you don't want to get abandoned again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so essentially the point is like if you don't heal this wound, then you're just going to stay in this cycle and it leads to losing more people, more things, more
Does.
um
Oh, but one of my dear friends, Caroline, recently told me, um, she made me aware of an aspect of this fear of abandonment, right? Where it's how I interact or how I have friendships or relationships in my life, whether or not like how I decide to show up for them or don't show up for people. Like I feel like I need to be there for everybody all the time, do all the things. She made me aware it's probably because I don't want to abandon people because I have
yeah,
that fear for myself.
yeah. That's interesting that you're saying you don't want to abandon people. Do you think it's you don't want to abandon people or you don't want to be abandoned by those people? Like you feel like if you don't show up in all this way that they might not even see the value in being your friend anymore.
Um, no, honestly, I don't feel like it's that way. I feel like that in relationships, it's weird, like
Okay.
romantic relationships, let's say. But for some reason I don't because I guess it's like, yeah, there's like a lot of deep things there. I'm very confident when I can bring and do and offer for people. I think in the other areas it's weird. It's just
Look at my
different. Yeah.
mom.
Is that your mom?
Yeah, she just walked in and out.
No, Gabby just came in, but I'm gonna say hi to Mama Rita. We all need a Mama Rita. She's like, no.
It's funny because I saw like I don't remember what I saw some kind of video and it was like somebody showing that they were doing like an at-home workout and
Mhm.
they were like on the Zoom with the rest of the class and then in the background like their boyfriend was like butt naked in the bathroom but you could like see it in the video. So when she walked in I was just like, "Oh no." But she wasn't naked, so sorry guys.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I have to think about that one a little deeper. You know, yeah, I don't feel like I'm worried about that
Well, let
because
me ask you a question. Do you
yeah.
feel like you're a people pleaser?
Oh, I'm 1,000%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's definitely abandonment wound. Like, so that's what I was saying. Like, sometimes we overextend ourselves and like go out of our way to like be there for people or do things for people because we feel like if we don't, then they don't see the value in having us.
Yeah.
Like,
There is a lot of that. Uh-huh. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
yeah.
I like to do it at work. Not like to, but I do. I say I like to. It's fine. It's totally okay.
Yeah, you
In
can
every
like
which way.
it.
I want to do everything. I have like a servant mentality, right? So I like to
Yeah.
do and serve, and it
So
makes
is
me
that,
happy.
I was gonna say, is that one of your top love languages, like acts of service?
No, actually, so I know that there's split. So I've never done the test or understood it in the other way, but I know there's the ones that like you want to receive, and then there's the ones
Wait,
more
time out. You've
primary.
never done the test? You're the one
No,
that told me about it.
no, I have. I'm just kidding. No, I meant I have, but I meant to say that like there's the ones that are your top, right? Which
Yeah.
that you want to receive, but then there's the ones that are top that you give. And not always are the ones that, like they say, like whatever your top ones are for yourself is the ones you usually will give. But that is not totally true for me. I tend to give acts of service is like one of my ones that I like really makes me happy
Yeah,
to do.
same,
And
same.
words.
Words of
Yeah.
affirmation.
And touch. But yeah, but for me, on the receiving end, it's words and touch.
Yeah,
And
same.
acts of service is nice because I like it makes me feel like somebody's thinking about me, right?
Yeah, I think that one
Like,
has
oh, they
acts of
noticed that
service
I
and
was
the
kind of
gift
in
one.
need.
Hmm?
Like, oh, they noticed I was in need, and
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So this is really like it's super enlightening. I hope it is for everybody because
Yeah, and I think once we dive into the rest of them, like this was just we're trying to keep the video shorter because our first one was like over an hour or something like that,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to keep them shorter, but like let us know, like, do you prefer longer videos? Do you like the shorter ones? So we're gonna make these like more bite-sized with the wounds. And I think the seventh one where we go into like how to heal these wounds or work on it, like that's where it'll be more of an extensive one.
Yeah.
Um,
And I would love to. I think it'd be cool. That might be a really cool one to bring in, honestly, like, or maybe it's like one after that. We bring in other people in our life, right? That we have so much we can learn, I think, from others' experiences, like how I see myself, how these have played out in my life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, even after the first video went up, like I had a mutual friend of ours that texted us and was just like, "Oh my God, you don't know how worthy you are," and blah blah blah. Like after what I said in the first video, and I was just like, it's so funny to see like how other people see you and and
Yeah.
hear that feedback. So I definitely am open to like having people on and talking about stuff.
Yeah, and it's refreshing because I think it just offers we all are so unique with our stories, right? And
And our experiences, no experiences alike, right? So
yeah, and it's literally it's like my whole purpose of when I created Wholeheartedly. It's like tell a story with the pieces of your heart. It's these
you
pieces
want to
that
talk about that real quick? You want to
separate
let people
you.
know about Wholeheartedly?
Mm, maybe not so much yet. I mean,
No?
it's like I had created this jewelry brand and, I'll do more with it at some point and when I get my book proposal done and all that, but it's just more that, the whole thing is just our life is full of these stories and these make pieces of our life and it's these pieces that are made to make us not break us. I got tired of people always saying like, "I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, don't be sorry because I wouldn't be who I am today had I not gone through these experiences. And now I'm here to share these with other people just so that they can learn. And, if even what we're doing here, like helps bring like happiness or joy or clarity or comfort to just one person, then
Peace, man, or
this is
peace.
it.
Yeah,
That's like what can be better than that? I think whenever you ask somebody like, what do you want out of your life? What's your purpose? Right? Mine is just to help others share their stories and inspire others to do the same.
I
That's
love
it.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
I think deep down, all of us really, our deep purpose is to help each other. And then everything else in the world that's going on is just bullshit that was, societally like inflicted on us. But I think
Yeah.
that deep down, like the real purpose of humanity is to help one another and to be human and to be vulnerable and to share
Yeah.
experiences and to grow and learn from one another. So,
Yeah. And I think honestly, a lot of our wounds of what keep people from sharing, right? So perhaps there was a fear of abandonment or rejection. So then therefore people don't want to share these things. So it's not that we don't want to be human or all these things, but it's our experiences that kind of kept us from.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, you're literally talking to Batman here. So, if anybody gets it, it's me.
One of my coworkers even said to me today, they were like, riddle me this, Batman.
Oh my God. See, I
And I
mean,
was dying because I was like, and she was like, yeah, I say that when with both people who are in a conversation are confused about what's going on.
I love it. I
I
love
was
it.
like,
I
I'm
love
just
any Batman reference. It's funny because I was on LinkedIn today looking for jobs and somebody had posted the bat signal and they were like, I'm putting this out there to like help people find jobs. And I was just like, It pops up everywhere. Like as soon as you put something out into the universe, like all of a sudden just everything comes back
Yeah.
and reflects that, which is what we talked about last time, right? Everything
Yeah,
on the outside is just a reflection of the inside. So the more we do this work, the more we heal the inside, the outside reflection becomes
it does. You just
clear.
start showing up, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, all these things have been working out for me lately, and
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. Well, this has
Yeah.
been so much fun. We
It
look forward
really
to
has.
sharing
It
the
really
next
has.
one. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, guys, if you got it this far, leave us a peace sign emoji in the comments and just let us know that you got this far
Gabby
and that
goes,
you,
peace sign.
yeah, say peace to your abandonment wounds.
Mhm.
And yeah, let us know if there's any other questions or comments or anything that you want us to cover aside from the core wounds, like when we get past this.
Yeah, but we'll be sharing a lot more. Gabby is like, she's so funny.
I love it. Hi,
Okay.
Gabby.
Until next time.
All right, girl. Peace, girl.
Bye.